So it seems to be starting. And I'm live. So hi everyone and welcome to my channel Hisame Artwork. Today I'm going to continue with coloring page 43 from my comic book Niels Feynman's Time Traveling Adventures. There we go, navigator, so you guys can see here in the little panel where I'm working at. And as always, feel free to write me in the chat. I have them open on my right so I can see what's going on. So I'm gonna start off by putting on a mask on each of the panels. Panel 3, panel 6, panel 5, and I'm gonna start coloring now. It will be a lot more easier to tell things apart once that's done, and resize whatever is needed. Here's the dresser. Not dresser, it's I forgot what it's called in English. Just write it in Romanian. Cupboard. There we go. Cupboard, maybe? I think. Okay, so I'm gonna take out a older page so I keep the color consistent. Let's see, is it streaming? Okay, my microphone is working. And I have one person watching. Hi there. The stream health is not good. Hope you can still hear and see me okay. I'm gonna try and go for a more light brown. there should be a line here, though I don't think it's gonna be seen in the panel. Not sure what she meant to do here. I think it's supposed to be opened. And like the door handle is missing, so probably need to add that. Okay, so Erwin's color, and he is not in this panel. There we go, found him. I should probably open a more recent page, so I have the box with the snacks. There we go. The stream is horrible. Health. Probably some of you guys can't even watch it. I've been having a lot of problems with the internet here lately. I may have to stop streaming altogether. Hi Anna, how are you? How is the stream? Is it working? Or is it like super horrible laggy stream? Well, internet is horrible. I hear you and see you. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad. I wasn't sure if it's still working. Just had worse and worse internet connection. Like, I don't know why they have such bad internet at a first world country university, and it's a pretty good university, so oh well. I guess the infrastructure is very old, and replacing everything with carbon fiber would be just too expensive, and there isn't any pressure on them to improve the internet. I don't know if you had this in school, but for my school was this general idea that oh, you should go to the library if you need to find something or learn about something, because internet is bad. You should only use the library, which is often outdated. I mean, especially for medical books, it's just the next year the book is outdated and it's super expensive. I don't even know how the students at med school survive all those years. I don't think they even have ramen noodle money. But you know, fortunately in Romania I don't need to buy that many books, although I'm not sure how it is for med school. Uh, for me, I had to buy a lot of books. And we usually had to buy like books made by the teachers, so like we're supposed to kind of have this not obvious bribe. Although some of them were kind of upfront about the whole situation. And you can take the exam and you can use books, specifically my book, and you can only use my book. If I see somebody else's book on your desk during the exam, I'm kicking you out. That was just amazing, like they could say that out loud. No, in fact, I'll make it a white spoon, ceramic. I don't think they had metal spoons at the time. I mean, they had lead spoons and gold spoons, but lead is not great, and I don't think Newton could afford gold spoons. Like, he wouldn't leave them around the house if he did anyway. Or silver spoons. Like, this whole tradition with silver spoons held up quite a long time. My grandmother had silver spoon cutlery for guests. Use my books because I'm the best. Well, it's not because they're the best, it's because they want money. Like that's how it was. There are a lot of issues with education in Romania. I mean, because the corruption is so high, we now have homeopathy courses at the National University and of Health, of Medicine, sorry, the University of Medicine, the National University of Medicine, like the state-owned one in the capital. So kind of one of the fanciest and most prestigious ones we have, and now they have a course in homeopathy. Like, I couldn't believe it initially, but you know, just the corruption is so high that um I mean, they would have hired crappy teachers anyway. Like at the economics university that I did, um we had one teacher that like came drunk all the time at school, and the student president got a lot of complaints. So because a lot of the students were angry, some of them were paying students. So like, I'm not paying to uh, wait for a drunk to not even come and do his course. And they asked the other teachers and the dean like what's going on, because it wasn't exactly cheap to do a master's in international marketing. Because some of the seats were paid, not all of them were free, government sponsored. Some of them were paid, so you can imagine the paying students were very upset. Those that didn't just want a degree, those that actually wanted to learn something. And there were quite a few of them that, since they took up this issue with the faculty staff, and they said, oh, you know, he's related to some guy at the Ministry of Education or something like that, to somebody important, and we can't fire him. So be happy that he doesn't come at the courses anymore. Like, this is progress. He used to come drunk at school. Now we've progressed to him just not showing up. So you guys should be happy and grateful. And sometimes we would have like one of the other teachers take pity on us and come and teach us something. So the hour, the course wouldn't be a complete waste of time, because sometimes it would be like in the middle of the schedule, like we couldn't even go home or go to work or something else. Like, we would have to sit around for an hour and a half until the next course. And he was supposed to teach agrotourism, like agricultural tourism or something like that, or agricultural marketing, sorry, agricultural marketing. And of course the drunk peasant jokes ensued, because we have a lot of alcoholics in the country and they're usually in the rural area. So it was like he was a representative of that negative stereotype. Drunk peasant becoming university professor about being a peasant. Like, the Balkans are a really fun place to visit. Not necessarily live there, but I mean, it's fun to kind of find out about all of the things that are going on. It's like pretty hilarious. Come on, page. Do I have page 42? Where? Oh, I want 41. This is 41? Yeah, this is 41. Okay, here I have my colors. Like people from Veneto are portrayed as drunk and saying blasphemy all the time. Veneto being Venice? Veneto. Let's see. Ah, my internet! No! Oh yeah, Venice. But why are they portrayed as being drunk all the time? Like, I haven't seen any drunk people when I went to Venice. Veneto is the region. Ah, Venice is in Veneto. Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying that up. I think I still have pictures of Venice. I have one that I really like. Let's see. Let's see. Where was it? Italia. Do I still have that seagull? Yeah. Oh, this was funny. Like in Bucharest, we have stray dogs stealing, I don't know, sarmale or something like that. Although nobody really throws away sarmale, they're too tasty. Let me show you what a sarma is. But like, let's say polenta, because usually sarmale are eaten with polenta, so like the yellow stuff. We call it momoliga, you guys call it polenta. So let's say in Romania they would throw away polenta and the dog would try and steal it. Like, but here there's a seagull stealing a piece of pizza, and this just seems like the most Venetian Italian thing that can happen. Also, I was surprised, like, I found these guys, the communists, like, you have the sickle and the hammer thing, and they were just having their office here. I mean, I have never seen this in Romania anywhere. Like, I think it's even illegal to have the swastika and the communist thingy displayed anywhere in public. But like there, it was just okay. You just put it out there. There's nothing strange about that. But I think since you guys never had communism, its symbolism is not illegal in Italy. But is it illegal? Like in Romania, for sure it is illegal. Like, for example, some colleagues of mine thought it would be a funny joke to draw a swastika on the chalkboard, and it was like a huge scandal because it's illegal to do it, and the school would be obliged by the law to turn in the child to the authorities and have like a whole trial. But like they didn't bother with that. It was just mostly chalked up to being stupid teenagers, and he just got off with a warning. And funny enough, a few years later, a colleague of mine, a friend of mine, saw him, because we were colleagues, saw him at a skinhead rally protest type of thing in the center of the city a few years later. So like It wasn't just a joke for that kid, it kind of turned into something a lot more serious. Symbol is permitted in communist parties. Like the only circumstances when communist and Nazi imagery is allowed in public places in Romania is historical reconstruction. So like if you're pretending to be a soldier from that era. But like that's the only time when it's permitted, and you have to have like permission from the mayor's office. You have a parade, you have an event, you need permission. It's considered as promoting fascism, Nazism. Yeah, I was pretty sure it is forbidden in Italy as well, but I'm surprised that communism is not outlawed as well. Though it's catching a lot of steam in Greece, like some friends of ours were telling us about the Communist Party in Greece and how much they're getting support. Tap water spout, what's it called? So it would be kind of coppery looking, I think. Like most of the time it was like super rusted, but I think it would be kind of a yellowish thing. Like there are a lot of images that are forbidden in England, or are not approved of in Ireland, but are really supported in England. Like, for example, Isaac Newton. Like when the story takes place in my comic, it was a really interesting time. If you read about it, it was kind of the first time you had the United Kingdom. And Scotland and England united. So Newton was living in some pretty interesting times. Hey, how are you? How have you been? Can you hear me okay? So now I'm drawing Marie, kind of using a medieval sink for her for doing the dishes. This is actually kind of a lot like how my grandparents washed dishes. So it was still a pretty recent invention, the sink. good, feeling better after the week I've gone through. Oh, uh, were you in the southern part, if I remember correctly? And you had the hurricanes, or what did you have? I think I remember you saying something about it. Where is the page with the biscuit? There we go. I live in Florida, yes, but it's not the week I was... But that's not the week I was talking about. Well, I'm sorry either way for horrible weather in Florida. We had some friends that used to live in Florida and like everything got flooded and their house was like completely destroyed, so now they came to Michigan, which has horrible winters, but at least, you know, you don't usually have floods. Yet this summer we had floods, and like they went to Romania to visit some relatives, so they like totally panicked because a lot of people actually here in the village where I live, they had their basements completely flooded. Very old trees. Oh, okay. Then I don't remember, where was the whole devastation? Like, was it in Texas? Like they were unprepared for what happened? That was a very different hurricane. That was a different hurricane. The video of the fish is on the side. Yeah, here in Mount Pleasant, I had some people posted pictures of the fish that were like taking a stroll. The one that hit Florida was Irma. Yeah, so I'm curious about this because, you know, we don't have hurricanes in Romania. Like we have storms, but and we have floods every year. We have floods. Like people are always surprised. It happens so often that sometimes people will build houses in places they know are dangerous, and they build like these crappy houses so that then they can get insurance, and since there's a lot of corruption, they can get away with doing stuff like that. And they get money from the government, supposedly to help them, but it's just money going from one crook that is employed in the government to another crook that's working in the private sector. So usually nobody takes seriously any storms or devastating events that happen in Romania. And since we have a lot of Donald Trump-like figures, they like always make asses of themselves when these kinds of events take place, and then they go on TV and there's like a whole never-ending circus. In Italy, if you have your house near a volcano or inside the Golena, you don't pay house taxes. Like, why do people even live there? Like, why is this still allowed? I mean, it's kind of encouraged suicide or something like that. Like in theory, in Romania, you're not allowed to build your house in an area that is floodable. Like, you're not gonna get permission to build your house in the delta where it's, or in a riverbank where it's known to flood. But sometimes, you know, like they will pay bribes to still build their house there, so it gets destroyed, so then they get the insurance money. Some are old houses inherited by grandparents. So they're not built recently. Yeah, cause usually that was like super cheap land that you could afford, I suppose. Since not a lot of people wanted to live there, it was full of poor people that then if they had their houses destroyed, like they couldn't rebuild. No, mostly of the houses are old and near camps. I was looking at British houses as well, and they're doing like a lot of reconstruction, and they let people live in historical buildings, but they have like a whole bunch of rules and regulations regarding to that house. They're like living in a museum. So they can't change the floors, the walls, anything. They're just living in a museum. And it's people that want like a old castle-like mansion. And those are generally cheap, like you don't need to be the Queen of Britain to afford one or to live in one. You can just be a business person or a upper middle class income person to afford one of those houses. I don't know, it's kind of seems like weird and snobbish thing to do. Because they're not like museum employees like they did in Netherlands. They've restored old mills, and people can live in them and work in them, and they kind of have like this museum that they live in and work in there at the same time, and they have to maintain the mills. They have to go through courses so they know how to wrap and unwrap the canvas on the mills if it's too windy, if it's not windy enough. People can't paint the outside of their house, it's a touristic landscape. Yeah, I mean, in a way, if you've lived there your whole life and like all of a sudden your house is declared a historical monument and you can't do any changes to it, like that must suck. Really badly. Like I would imagine I would be very annoyed. I'd be like, this is my grandmother's house and you mean telling me now it's a museum type of situation and I can't change it in any way. I mean, I would be tempted to turn it into kind of a coffee shop type of situation, like we have for historical center in Bucharest. So we have a lot of old buildings like this in the downtown area. And there used to be here, like even when I was a kid, used to be really dilapidated buildings, squalor, gypsies living in squatting houses in here, or you know, really old people that couldn't take care of themselves. And it was just in ruins. Everything was in ruins. And since we got in the European Union, like the whole area got a lot of money, and now it looks like a European city. This is copied from the French like 100 years ago. The buildings are super old, and they kind of got renovated. And the first buildings that got renovated were these big ones here on the side, which are banks. Like all of them are banks now, mostly either private or government banks. Like this is a really old restaurant that got, I think, revamped now or reopened. I think it was always open, but it just nobody went to it because it was like between some really old houses. And I guess this is how it used to look. Manufactura, Strada Lipskan. Like I've seen some of these buildings in old films. This is how it looks in the winter. Do you guys have bread bowl soup? Ciorba de fasole la unpuina. Because I've seen it like in a lot of places, but I'm not sure how common it is. A lot of restaurants in Romania will pass this out as authentic and unique Romanian food. But I've seen French regions having this, so I don't think it's that unique. But it's pretty good. Like I was surprised how tasty it was. Turn these off so I can color behind. It's so easy to color. I just love coloring in Clip Studio Paint. Like once you have the line art done, and if it's done properly, it's so easy. There we go, and that last little droplet of water. The actors from Game of Thrones are so famous now that whenever I see them in another movie, I'm like, oh, it's Littlefinger, oh, it's Varys, oh, it's Khal Drogo. It's like it's very hard for me to shake off that idea I have of them. There was a film by Guy Ritchie, The Legend of Sir Arthur, or something about Arthur and Camelot and magical elephants. Uh, and Littlefinger, the actor that plays him, was just so distracting. I mean, the guy that plays Arthur has been in a lot more movies. Like, I mostly know him from Angels of Anarchy or something like that. And he was in Pacific Rim as well, but without his beard, I just didn't recognize him. So, yeah, I was okay with that actor, but seeing Littlefinger in the movie was just so weird. Like, all very distracting, and he didn't even have a big role. Am I still streaming? Let's see. I'm barely streaming, yeah. And seeing him in in the role was just weird. I mean, for Westworld, I was gonna say Westeros, Westworld. When I saw Anthony Hopkins in the role, like first it was a bit distracting, but I didn't really know the story much, so I didn't have anything to latch on to. So it was just, oh yay, Anthony Hopkins, like cool, I get to see him play. I'm still streaming, good. And it was okay, and like they killed him off in the first season, like what they did with Sean Beam and Ned Stark. So it was okay. Like now we're kind of free to focus on the smaller actors, and it's a bit strange, you know, to see really big actors in like small, no-name series. I mean, it is HBO, so it is high production, but you don't associate Westworld with a well-known franchise or like a big blockbuster. Surprisingly enough, I just had no problem with Anthony Hopkins as Odin in Thor. I was like actually excited. I was like, wow, he's so good in this role. Anthony Hopkins can do no wrong. Yay! And I was looking at him playing Thor and I was like, yeah, I was born for this. Also Hannibal Lecter and also a lot of other great movies. But he's great as Odin. He's so good. And I was seeing like such a great match. So I don't know why. I think it's because like I don't associate him with Littlefinger. I don't associate him with anything else except Game of Thrones, so I don't see him as a great actor that I'm happy to see. I see him from that face from Game of Thrones. And I think it's a really difficult situation for many actors that they end up in these situations. Like, I think the first guy to really struggle and be upset with this was Leonard Nimoy as Spock from Star Trek. Like, because he had so much ongoing with theater, and he was like a very good actor in theaters. He did a lot of plays, but everybody only knew him as Spock, so he was kind of like frustrated with that. I can do so much more. And also Jackie Chan turned out a pretty serious film. Like I was surprised, like at first I didn't understand. Is this a Jackie Chan movie? Where are all the jokes? Where is all the funny? And apparently he understands the fact that he's getting old and he can't do only fight scenes forever. So he's trying to get into more serious stuff as well. And I would actually need a chair for Erwin too. And he did an interview with Stephen Colbert, and like where he was explaining that he's trying to shift from comedy and combat films to more serious drama, that he's not just a fight actor, he's also a good actor. And I mean, Jackie Chan is really charming. I mean, he hasn't done any controversial stuff yet. uh, did you see like Chuck Norris endorsing Donald Trump? Like, I didn't believe it at first. I was like, what? Chuck Norris? But he's supposed to be the good guy. Why is he supporting Nazis? Actually, I think I should put the second chair to the left, because that's what he would have been sitting. And here Niels passed out from too much carbon dioxide, and this took a bit of searching for me. I was like looking what I can put in the basement so it would be dangerous to Niels, and initially I went with carbon monoxide because it's invisible and dangerous, but thing is with carbon monoxide, the damage is irreversible and like you get brain damage for life. So fortunately my husband is a scientist, so like easy for me to search for an alternative. I just went and asked him, like, do you have something that is less bad than... Actually, I think it was him. Yeah, it was him who kind of told me, hey, that's a bad idea because like he'll get brain damage for life. Um, and then I asked him what should I use instead, and he said, I'll use carbon dioxide. And then I had to figure out some substances that can mix and give off carbon dioxide. And apparently if you mix, like in those lava volcano school projects, you know, when you have like a little volcano that poofs out a lot of carbon dioxide, like fizzy pop soda. So that's usually like vinegar with baking soda, and it just does a lot of fizziness, and that's carbon dioxide. And if you inhale too much of that, again, you'll get very drowsy and sleepy, and then pass out, and you can die. So always be careful if you want to play with dry ice, which is carbon dioxide. So play safe. It's really bulging, guys. Jun was really great at taking my horrible looking sketches and turning them into expressions. Oh my god, that face. I think she's just laughing to herself all the time while she's drawing this. Like, I don't know how she would keep a straight face when drawing this. I mean, I look at it and I'm laughing. I'm like trying to talk and make this interesting conversation for you guys. I'm looking at his face. I'm trying to kind of focus on the color that he has on his neck and coloring that, and looking at his face. It reminds me of some of the faces that Tom would make, like from Tom and Jerry. I know, right? Because I did tell Jun, you know, like, look at Tom and Jerry. I want that kind of face and anime faces as well. And I always give her examples from what I want, what I mean when I do something. Fortunately for me, she loves cartoons, so it's like super easy to kind of explain to her what I want and what I need to go on in a panel. So yeah, I was like, here is when Erwin realizes that Niels is passed out, like something happened to him. And of course Marie's first instinct is to go to him and help him, but like that's not always a good idea. If he's passed out there, like there might be something that's bad down there, and like Erwin is the one that kind of is more level-headed. Even though he's melodramatic, like he's such a drama queen, like he usually does stay more level-headed. He's more of a thinker than a doer, as opposed to Marie. And I try to always convey that through their actions, like the different personalities that they have. And try and make rounded, believable, adorable characters. hopefully you guys like my characters as well. I do enjoy doing this, and I'm super happy to be able to do this every week. I've just always liked buddy comedies, like characters that go through stuff together. I think there should be a tongue in there, so I will do the tongue color. Amongst other news, I found this lovely lady that does reviews for comics, and she's agreed to review my comic for a month from now, so you guys might see a review. For Niels Feynman's time traveling adventures. I'm really curious what she'll have to say. Like, we haven't talked the details yet. And since this is kind of my first long comic, I hope she will be gentle. I haven't been doing comics for a long time. It was like a year and a half. Oh my god, we killed a human. And I was like, yeah, Niels is jerk human. But like, since Niels ages a lot slower than them, like Niels is still a kid while Erwin is a teenager and Marie is an adult. So they're kind of like, it's their human, but it's like they have to take care of it because it's still a dumb kid. Who, when is told it is dangerous to go there, to stay in the basement, like his watch told him, like, hey, there's too much carbon dioxide here, and Niels was like, I don't care. So yeah. I mean, not all kids are as dumb as I was. I mean, I often tell my husband stories about things that I've done and like almost gotten killed, and he's like, no, I never done that. No, I would never do that. It's like, how did you survive your childhood? And often, I don't know myself either. Yeah, he was fanboying. So, I think I told you guys about how I almost strangled myself by accident. There was like this metal fence, and I tried to hop over it, and my sweater got snagged. And like I think I was 9 years old or something like that. And the sweater, because it got snagged in the fence, it's was pulling on my neck, and I wasn't able to breathe anymore. Talk about breathing issues. Okay, and fortunately I was able to like still scream and call for my mother, and like she was her window to the kitchen was open, so like she could hear me. And I don't think I've ever seen her run that fast, because she probably saw what I was doing, like being strangled on the fence. And like she ran and took me off the fence, and my sweater had like a gaping hole in it, and I was just strangled. And another time I was like playing in the water, and the waves were really high, and at some point I wasn't able to stay above the waves. Like it was fun because I was like jumping and the waves were taking me up, and I was like going even higher that I could go without the waves. So it was fun, and I was like playing in the water and splash splash, and then the waves got really big and like pushing me back down, and I wasn't able to get out. My only child, the future of my genes. Nah. Yeah, I mean, at that point, I was a single child at that point, so it was like later that she got back up and was like, ah. I mean, my dad at one point even told me, oh yeah, you were really skinny, looked unhealthy. If we weren't so busy with your brothers, maybe we would have taken you to the doctor. Yeah, so anyway, this was when I was still an only child. So I was jumping and the waves, and it was fun, and the waves started pushing me down and I couldn't get up again. And because I wasn't getting oxygen to my brain anymore, I think I got a bit of intoxicated with carbon dioxide because I fell asleep and I don't remember what happened. Like I have like glimpses when I remember it was like water and sand and hitting my head on a rock. But it wasn't painful. And then the next thing I remember is my parents pulling me out of the sea, like each of them holding one of my arms and like dragging me on the beach. I wonder how long it took them to realize I was missing. Because when I was a baby, like they lost me 2 times, when I was 2 years old, and then they lost me again when I was still a toddler age, like maybe 4 at most. Because they would like sit on the beach and relax and then let me do my thing, and then I would disappear, and after a while they would notice, hey, where's our child? Like we had a child with us. What happened to it? I don't know if you have these kinds of jokes about kids and bad parents. And like for example in Romania there's a joke about honey, what's that little hobbit doing in our house? Like, I don't know if you noticed, we have a hobbit in the house, and the wife's like, that's your child, you idiot. But they usually revolve around bad parenting on the father's side. Like for example, because we had a lot of religious fanatics, you know, complaining about gay marriage and, oh, the traditional family is between a man and a woman. And there were a lot of jokes in the newspapers that the traditional Romanian family is composed of two women, actually, the mother and the grandmother, because the father never does anything. Lol, when I started to walk in the Ghirello, my father put a rope to keep me near when he went to the bar. Oh my god. Like, I think this would be considered child abuse in modern days. Or at least here in America anyway. Although they do have those kitty harnesses, like I don't know if you know them. Kitty harness here in America. Like these things. Like, is this what your dad put on you? When you went to the bar? But he probably used something a lot more low budget, not as fancy and high tech. My parents never did that to me. They let me roam free, so I'm a free range child. I grew up with freedom. I'm organic too. Everyone in the bar knew me for that. Oh. It just seems like a weird thing to do. Like, I wonder what weird thing I will do that if I ever have a child, like, I will complain about. Like, how will social norms change? Like here in the US, like they're super panicky, like they don't let kids unattended. And they don't let them go to school by themselves, which is really weird. I used to go to school all the time by myself. And so yeah, like there were a lot of instances like I almost bit the dust. Like, you know the expression bite the dust. So. Niels is heavily inspired by my own life experiences. Okay, let's see, panel 4. Hi Caesar, can you hear me? My mom some years ago, are you going to stop calling him daddy? Well, you were calling him in what language? Like, for example, my Turkish grandmother wanted me to call her Anne, which is kind of like mommy in Turkish. Anne is grandma. Aminika is granny. And she like wanted me to call her mommy, which was kind of weird, but whatever. Like, she wouldn't feed me if I didn't call her like that, so I was like, okay, whatever. For my dad, it was weird growing up in Romania. and with a country that had like the official language was different than his maternal and paternal language. So uh, he would call his mom in Turkish anne, but like everybody thought that he was like calling somebody else because anne sounds like Anne, like Anna. So he started calling his mom, my grandmother, Mama, which is like mom, and like she didn't answer because she didn't know she was calling for her. Like she thought it was some other kid calling for his mom. That was funny. Like we have some friends here that some of their kids like they call their parents by their first name, which is kind of weird. Like they're calling them like you'd say Elizabeth or something like that, and you call your mom Elizabeth. I mean, it's weird for me because I'm used to calling my mom, mama. Also, it's funny because my mom and my husband's mom have the same name. So kind of like my mom, your mom. Sometimes like get confused in a situation. Cause I think he's talking about his mom, but he calls my mom, but then it's funny. I found strange here because people call their father Babo because it reminds me of Babo Natale. Call it Babo. Babo means like old woman in Romanian actually. I mean Babo is like old woman, but Babo is like when you're calling someone an old woman. It's kind of a bit of an insult. Oops. Yeah, did you get to see the video I sent you? Because you were curious like how Romanian sounded and how many words you could understand. Where is... There we go. I have the character sheet for Niels. There we go. So how have you been, Caesar? How's it going? So I want the heel to stay brown and the boot. Character sheet. There we go. Romania is pretty weird language. I've been school started, so I missed a couple of streams. No problem. Happy to have you back. My sister's also with high school busy, and she's gonna have some chemistry tests. I can't wait for her to finish school. Like, she'll have other problems, but at least she'll be able to manage her own time better. And you can like choose what you want to do more with your life. In theory, anyway. Yeah, I mean, I think it's easier for Romanians to understand Italian than vice versa, because like Romanians are much more familiar with Italian. Like, you guys usually have never heard Romanian. But what I've been talking with June, like, it seems to be more similar to her Italian dialect up in little Sardinia than with like northern Italian. Though I think it's really interesting that we have like similar school nursery rhymes, like that one with capra sare piatra, piatra crapă în patru, crăpor capu capre, precum a crăpat piatra în patru. And like you have that with in Italian, it's like the same thing. But I'm so happy I'm done with school. I don't have to deal with the horrible grammar. I just hated grammar every step of the way. And now I have to deal with English grammar because I'm writing my comics in English and I have to write them correctly. And I hate grammar. I hate it with a passion. Like, why are there 30 irregular verbs in English? Why? Why? Sotto la panca la capra canto, sotto la panca la capra crepa. Like your version seems shorter. I think it's different than the one that June told me. Once we need to do a live telling nursery rhymes. I don't know who would wanna listen to that. I would really like to hear more from the Silbo language, if you remember it. I told you a while ago about it. Do you remember Silbo? And color. Rules might just wither away as more people ignore them. I don't think they need to be ignored. I just think they need to be better. um, and it's one of the reasons that Esperanto came into existence. Let's see. Esperanto speakers. Let's see how many are there. So, blah blah blah. Summer Institute Linguistics. 2 million people worldwide. Pardon. Speakers who learn Esperanto from birth. 5,000 members in 120 countries, and this is a artificial language. It was created by some guy, Jewish guy from Russia, I think. And it's like supposed to be the ultimate international language that everybody can learn and won't need so many languages. You have just Esperanto with a simple grammar and like be easier for everyone to understand each other. And Silbo, which I think is really interesting, is like a whistling language. Silbo Gomero. Gomeran whistle, also known as El Silbo, the whistle. And it just sounds really cool. I've listened to it on YouTube. I'm not gonna play it here because I'm gonna get a copyright strike for sure. There are a lot of videos how foreigners talk in Italian or how I talk in this different language. Yeah, it's very funny. Like I always find it amusing to listen to foreigners trying to speak Romanian, and of course here because we have like a Romanian community, and you have Romanian women married to American men, of course, like it's rarely the other way around. And like the husbands, you know, they try and speak Romanian. And some of them actually put quite a lot of effort and are able to learn Romanian. And as an American who is able to learn Romanian, I'm like amazed because it's not an easy language. But they speak it with such a funny accent, and the accent on the words, the intonation is like always off. And it just sounds super weird. It's like a robot reading it sometimes, you know. Honestly, I wouldn't even try and speak Chinese. It just sounds very difficult and very annoying. Like, for me, like Arabic and like Dutch or, you know, Celtic languages, it just sounds like air coming out and just, I don't know when the word ends and another one starts. It's super hard to pinpoint the words. For me, Japanese is easy. It's like I know when a word ends, another word starts. It's a lot more easy to learn and follow. I mean, even Turkish. I'm not very fond of how it sounds, but I do find it easier. And it's probably because I grew up listening to it, so it's very familiar to me. And I'm not counting Romance languages because they're very similar to my native language, so those are automatically easier for me. I'm kind of going for more exotic languages that I know. Oh, hi Corbin, how are you? Welcome to the stream. Hi Corbin. Foreign people learn Italian to understand better our literature. Yeah. Say something Romanian. What should I say? Give me a sentence so you know what I'm saying, and then you can hear it, how it sounds. Is there a lag, or is Corbin thinking really long about what to say? Well, I guess I could say, hi, my name is Hisame. Bună, numele meu este Hisame. Merhaba, benim adım Hisame. So that was English, Romanian, and Turkish, because I'm half Turkish. And it's kind of my dad's language. Actually, I'm half Romanian, 1/4 Turkish, 1/4 Tatar, but I do not remember how to say anything in Tatar. Let's see. Google Translate. I think it had Tatar. Tajik, no. Tamil to Turkish, no, it doesn't have Tatar. How to say hi. My name is in Tatar. Okay. Oh, no, initials is... I can't remember. Bin a Batman. No, it sounds like Turkish in a way, but I think it's just really confused in my head because I grew up listening both of them at the same time. Anlım, and you say tamam in Turkish, and say anlamadım if you don't understand. Yeah, how do I say my name is? İsmin, İsmin. Don't remember. Like Tatar is completely erased. I only remember how to say cat, so it's mushuk in Tatar and it's kedi in Turkish. But other than that, because I never been to Crimea or Tatarstan or any of these places where you still have Tatars. I've been to Turkey almost every summer, so that was fun. And of course, me being blonde and blue eyes, I was definitely a foreigner. And they were like super impressed. It was like, oh, a foreigner can speak our language. And I was like, hey, I'm not a foreigner, but yeah, still give me candy. Thank you. And then they would find out that I'm Turkish and be like, oh, Turkish with blue eyes. And I was like, yeah, I mean, give me candy. So yeah, I like Turkey because I got a lot of candy. And there were a lot of Romanians that used to go to Turkey to spend their vacation there. That was before it entered the European Union. Then they kind of stopped going there because it was a lot easier to go to Greece because you didn't need a passport. You could just go with your Romanian ID and go to Greece. Where was it? I think it was this kind of brown. So a lot of Turkish people learned Romanian just so like they could try and sell you stuff. It'd be like, oh, my Romanian friend, come here, yeah, and they would like say the names of famous Romanians, like, oh, Haji, Nadia Comaneci. um, I don't know if I saw a meme because like at the moment a Romanian citizen became a girl became the #1 tennis player in the world. Like she won a big tournament. I'm not familiar with tennis, but uh, I was like the first Romanian to get this medal or cup or whatever they won. And cartoons with you know, Turkish people trying to impress you with their knowledge of Romania. So they would like say, Haji Nadia Comaneci, what was his name? Some other guy, another famous tennis player. And then the Romanian tourist would be like not impressed. Oh, Simona Halep too now. You're like behind with the news. Now, as far as I can tell, Halep is not actually a traditional Romanian name. Like, she's a Romanian citizen, but she's from one of the ethnic minorities or something like that. I don't remember which one. There was like something in the news about it. Oh, my neck went dry again from talking too much. The air is just so dry for me here. Like my face is sometimes it gets so dry it feels like it's gonna crack. It makes me tempted to use one of those weird Japanese or Chinese face masks I've seen on TV. They are supposed to hydrate your face so you're no longer in pain. I mean, supposedly they're for beauty. Chinese hydration masks. Like these creepy things that you put on your face. Oh my god. I don't know, this seems slightly racist by American, what is it called? PC, political correctness standards. Oh my god. This is a blue face. This is just insulting aliens or something. Oh, it looks ridiculous. But sometimes my face hurts because it's so dry. I have to go and put on cream. Marie ink. I didn't used to have this problem when I was younger, but I'm probably getting old now. I'm so silent again. Oh, I'm actually making an animation for a friend. Oh, that's so nice. Are you gonna post it on YouTube later on? Like, feel free to give us the link so we can watch too. Because I don't think we're connected on Facebook, and I never have time to look at my Google Plus feed. So I have no idea if you post something there, I'm never gonna see it. Like, I've actually resorted to going on Instagram to kind of keep track of what people are doing, because Facebook is horrible and I never see anything there. So it's just super hard to keep track of what other people are doing. And I want to see what my friends are doing and support them, but social media, why are you such a pain in the behind, in the bottom? Color here the eye. I think maybe this reaction is a bit too over the top now that I'm looking at it, because then the transition next panel is a bit too different. So I'm gonna probably change the expressions a bit, but until then I'm gonna keep it like this just so I know what I'm working with. My human. Yeah, I think it's a bit too dramatic. I know this is how I kind of drew it for June, but now actually seeing it in more detail and in comparison with the other one, I'm thinking, maybe it's too dramatic. And it's almost 5, so I got the base colors for the characters. So next stream I'm gonna do the backgrounds. So looks like some kinky stuff. What? Yeah, because he grabbed her by the tail. I didn't think it like that. Is he thinking, how can we tell to his parents we killed him? Now he's gonna be okay. Niels is gonna be okay. Like, I got 3 more chapters with him. So thank you all for watching, and see you next time. Thank you. Bye bye.